Hello, we're at CES and we have an opportunity to speak with Doug Lowther, who is the CEO of Irdeto. Thanks a lot, Doug, for taking some time to speak with us. Seems like a lot of things are happening at once with Irdeto in North America, and I'd like to explore some of the newest things first, just because they're new and announcements that have just been made. One having to do with IBM's Aspera and a partnership you have with them. The other with a consumer download electronic sell-through kind of service developed by several movie companies and other entities for consumers to get product in a highly secure way, and you're participating in that.
Sure. Well, Fred, it's great to be here. Thanks for the conversation. Let me take a step back and just paint the bigger picture of what ties all these different announcements together. And that really is that we're moving the whole security landscape in TV and in over-the-top away from individual pipes and securing sort of individual assets and towards having a really end-to-end approach. And what I mean by an end-to-end approach is one that works from glass to glass, where the first piece of glass is the camera lens and the second piece of glass is whatever viewing device is viewing the content. And the objective is that content has to be completely secure from the first piece of glass to the second. And that if any leakage should occur, you have to be able to not only detect that leakage, but also remedy it and take down whatever content has found its way outside of that protected ecosystem. So then to dive into the details of the work that we're doing with Aspera. So essentially by using our technology in combination with Aspera, we're able to offer a content distributor a secure means of delivering content to their end customer using our trace marking technology. Tracemark is a technology that embeds an invisible watermark in the content. And then that watermark is in turn detected by our online piracy detection, so that if that content gets delivered and there's leakage at some point in the chain, we can detect and shut down that leakage.
And this is all the way to the end user.
Absolutely. So all the way to the end user.
So
and
what is
also,
the Aspera role there?
The Aspera role is essentially they have a content delivery architecture that has a very high performance delivery of content, such as, for example, movie content, first release movies, up to and including ultra high definition. And then that content in turn is protected by the Irdeto Tracemark technology, and then that's used by content distributors such as, for example, Fox Pictures.
VideoD, which is a new concept as far as creating an electronic sell-through for not just securing the content on the download, but then giving the consumer the right to distribute it around the home and making sure that's secure as well, which is obviously a big benefit and advantage. You're the first ones to actually supply that security.
Yeah, indeed. We're very proud to be the first to deliver support for the new VideoD architecture. And VideoD itself is a very interesting initiative, and I think it's an indicator of how these sorts of systems will work in the future, because it was formed by a consortium that included some leading content originators, including both Fox and Warner Brothers, and also some of the leading names in storage. And essentially what that allows you to do is to securely distribute Ultra HD content to a consumer. And in the same way as the Aspera architecture, you're protecting that content at every point in its life from origination through the viewing in the consumer's home. And you're marking the content, again using our trace marking technology, so that if that content should find its way to somewhere it shouldn't be, you can detect that and remedy it after the delivery to the consumer.
It's interesting to notice that in both announcements, the Aspera announcement and the VideoD announcement, the prominent Fox executives, Ian Harvey with Fox, 20th Century Fox, and Danny Kaye with Fox Entertainment, both quoted in those releases. That suggests you have a pretty good engagement there. Can you tell us a little bit what's going on with you and Fox?
Sure. Well, the great thing about working with Fox is that they have a very, very proactive understanding of security. They and they have the ability to leverage all these different standards and a somewhat holistic perspective on security, which we think is great because it also helps us to guide our development and guide our roadmaps. Now, in terms of the specifics, we've been working with Fox in a number of areas. The Aspera announcement's one of them, VideoD is another, and across both the television and as well as the film business in Fox, we have a number of different projects over the years that I think have been of great mutual benefit to both of us.
They are, of course, caught up in this whole agenda that we see across the content community of how to better engage the consumer, capture those eyeballs that aren't part of the pay TV universe, and a lot of experimentation is going on. Obviously, Fox with Fox Sports, for example, has been doing some pretty aggressive things in the direct-to-consumer space. Are you involved in those kinds of strategies as far as getting content out there in a way, high-value content that the content supplier can feel confident in terms of how they're putting this together as their own direct-to-consumer package?
Sure. Well, speaking generally, so not specific to Fox, but what we're seeing with all originators of valuable content, whether it's studios, whether it's major sports networks, whether it's pay TV operators that originate some of their own content. First, we don't think there's going to be a one-size-fits-all sort of solution where there's one preferred content consumption model that takes over. I think there's far too much diversity now of consumer needs and consumer preferences. So there will be some direct-to-consumer initiatives by the content owners. There will be some direct monetization of sports content. For example, we're working closely with the Premier League on anti-piracy and on their content distribution all over the world. And then
that's the European soccer.
European soccer, yeah, Premier League. So the Barclays Premier League, as it's called now. And in addition to that, the traditional pay TV business is still going strong, and we're seeing some pretty encouraging subscriber numbers from a number of our major customers in North America and elsewhere. Time Warner's one, where I think we saw some encouraging numbers, including an increase in video subscribers and in voice subscribers and in total revenue generating units. Now, the really interesting thing is this is all happening at the same time as over-the-top consumption is absolutely going through the roof.
Yeah.
When we look at our portfolio of over-the-top customers, and we're doing a lot of the license issuances and security for all the over-the-top video viewing for those customers, we're seeing viewing tripling year over year. So we're at about 3 times the level in aggregate across all of our customers of the total amount of viewing a year ago. And that's happening in an environment where the traditional subscription business is still growing strong. So I think that's just a very encouraging indicator for the health of the video business going forward.
People are looking for content wherever it is.
Absolutely, and I think the appetite for content is increasing, and people are consuming content in more ways than ever before. They're watching movies, they're watching long format programming, they're watching sports content, they're snacking on
and
mobile
wherever
devices.
they watch it, it has to be protected no matter what they're doing, because meanwhile, with all this happening in streaming, there's just an explosion in the piracy side.
Absolutely, and that brings us back to, if you like, the end-to-end theme, where increasingly what we've got to be doing is uniquely marking and protecting content right from where it's originated, following it all the way through the chain, right to the point of consumption by the consumer, and making sure that if there's leakage in any point in that chain, we have the technologies and the tools in place to address that. And that's it's important to do that in a way that has no impact on the consumer. The best security is completely invisible to the end consumer, and in a way that protects the whole creative process and the revenue model that allows this great content to be produced in the first place. So that's how we see things.